They turn your Bibles with me to, again, book of 1 Corinthians in the 11th chapter. I'm going to reread verse number 28 for you today. 1 Corinthians in the 11th chapter, verse number 28. Amen. 1 Corinthians 11th chapter. Let me clean my glasses here. Somebody say amen. Amen. Always good to be able to see. Amen. Amen. See what you're saying. Amen. Oh, amen. All right. 1 Corinthians in the 11th chapter, verse number 28, the Bible records these words. It says, "But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of the bread and drink of the cup." May God, with a blessing to the reading and hearing of this note of word, may I today have courage to teach and let the people of God say amen. Amen. For our purpose today, very briefly, and again, we're not going to be very long, I just want to share a few things that the Spirit of the Lord was saying. I just want to live from the A portion of that text. Look at your Bibles again. I want to live just from the A portion of that text. But let a man examine himself. A man examine himself. And from that text, I want to use for teaching thought today, and I want to talk about the man in the mirror. I want to talk about the man in the mirror. Turn to somebody and tell them it starts with me. It starts with me. Amen. It starts with me. There are many of you, if not all of you today, who know of or remember Michael Jackson. Yeah. And he was, amen, the Prince of Pop, dynamic dancer, and singing talent, and the child with the Jackson 5. Somebody say amen. Amen. In his adulthood, prophecy, wrote a song. He sang a song called "The Man in the Mirror." And in the lyrics, he said these words. It says, "I'm going to make a change for once in my life. It's going to feel real good. It's going to make a difference. It's going to make it right. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. And no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change." Yes. I looked at those lyrics, and the Spirit of God led me to those lyrics, Mother Andre, and I began to look at them, and there were some very significant things that, even through this pop song, that are very relevant to what I believe God would have us to know. He said, "I'm going to make a change." Well, he didn't say, "You need to change." He said, "I'm going to make a change." So I point you and said, "I'm going to make a change." I've learned that change happens, prophetess, when I decide to change. Amen. That circumstances around this grace will always stay the same as long as I'm the common denominator. Am I talking to anybody? Amen. As long as I stay the same, Mother Audrey, think the same, talk the same, act the same, that I've learned that things around me will stay just as they are. My Lord. Turn to somebody and tell them, be the change you want to create. Be the change you want to create. That's good. I like that. And then he went on to say, he said, "I'm starting with the man in the mirror." In the lyrics was telling us that if I want to see change, the change must first start with me. Just reconfirming what was said in the first part of the lyrics, Elder. He said, "I'm going to start with the man in the mirror." Man. He said, "I'm asking him." Turn to somebody and say, "It don't have nothing to do with you." He said, "I'm asking him." So he's looking at himself in the mirror and saying, "I'm asking him to change his ways." My Lord. And then he ended up by saying, no message
Could have been any clearer.
couldn't have been, turn to somebody and say, couldn't have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, he said, take a look at what? Take a look at yourself and then make a change. Turn to somebody and tell them, I'm looking at the man in the mirror. Our problem today, our challenge today, is that Satan desires to break and or to mar the image of God within us. See, the enemy's desire, I was sharing with Elder Wright today, we were talking, and Spirit Lord was talking to both of us as we were sharing with each other, is that the enemy is always going to have willing vessels who desire to attack us and provoke us to operate out of character. It's never about what happens to you, but it's always, Marvell, about how you respond to what happens to you. We wake up and we should expect to be under attack. We should expect to come under assault by the enemy. We should expect that the enemy is somewhere stopping, trying to stop or hinder our progress in Christ Jesus. But we must understand that the scripture says that even the gates of hell shall not prevail. Now, that text does not mean, watch this, that text does not mean that we will stop the enemy from coming in. It says that the enemy cannot stop us from progressing. Most people see that text, Elder, as a defensive statement, that the gates of hell shall not prevail against us. But really, it is a offensive commandment to say, just keep on moving. Tell me somebody, tell keep on moving. To say, we got to keep on pressing, keep on going. Why? Because the enemy cannot stop our progress. But Satan desires to mar or break the image of God in us. My brothers and sisters, let me remind you that in every circumstance that we find ourselves in, that it is our responsibility to shine forth the glory of God in our lives. The Bible says, let our light so shine, what? That men may see our what? Good works and glorify who? Our Father which is in heaven. And so our mandate is that in spite of what happens to us, we still must shine forth, or we must illuminate God's presence in every circumstance. Amen. If I have a financial challenge, Deacon LeGrand, that it's my responsibility, because I believe the promise of God that the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. I believe also that he's never seen the righteous forsaken. I also believe that my God shall, anybody with me today? That my God shall supply all of my needs according to his riches and glory. And because I believe that, even when I get into a hard spot, even when I get into a place where I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to make this or do this or handle this, I don't worry, I don't fret. Why? Because I know that it is God's desire to take me through so his glory can be shown. He wants to use me as an instrument to show somebody who doesn't know him that God can make a way out of no way. Am I talking to anybody? Let me ask this question. How many here today, how many of you here today can give testament to the fact that when you almost had enough, that God made up the difference? Let me try that again. How many of you have been in a circumstance where you almost had enough, ultimately to find out that God made up the difference? See, God has never left us short. God has never left us dry. He's never forsaken us. He's never denied us. He said, I'll hold no good thing back from you. The question is, do we believe what God has said to us? All right. And even in those times, watch this. Watch it. The challenge and the problem is never God, is our perception of God. See, what do you mean perception? Sometimes we say, well, God, you're not moving fast enough. How many of us told God that? God, you ain't showing up fast enough. You're not changing it fast enough. You're not answering fast enough. And so what happens is we get impatient with the process. First, I say trust the process. We got to trust the process of God. Elder, God knows what he's doing. How many of us remember that God told us not that long ago that we're here on purpose for purpose? Let's say that together. We're here on purpose, what? For purpose. Let's try that one more time. We're here what? On purpose, what? For purpose. We're here on purpose for the purpose of God. It was God who said, I know the plans that I have for you. Anybody read your Bibles and read that? He said, I know the plans that I have for you. Amen. Turn to Ephesians 5:25 through 29. I want to talk to the men. Just a few scriptures and then we're done. We talk about, because this is Father's Day, Grace. This is the day that we honor fathers. Men, amen, who are fathers. Barack Obama said this. I ran across a statement. I didn't hear him when he originally said it, but in my studies, Brother Ronnie, I ran across a statement that Barack Obama made. He said, any man can make a child. All right. But he said, only a father will raise that child. Amen. See, there's a lot of guys who are creating children. But the question is, how many of them are being a father to what they created? Are you hearing me today? But today is the day that we want to honor fathers. This is Father's Day. If I say Father's Day. This is Father's Day. All over the country, this is the time when families, spouses, children, families celebrate fathers. Fathers who are here, fathers who are gone. Amen. I honor my father, Clifford White Sr., who has been gone with the Lord for many years now, but is still present in my life. And so this is the day that we honor fathers and celebrate fatherhood. But I want to take a unique turn, John, today, and I want to, instead of just celebrating fathers, because we don't get a chance to celebrate ourselves. We don't get a chance to celebrate ourselves, prophets. And so today, I don't so much want us to rely on other people to celebrate us. We ought to celebrate ourselves. Yeah. But the best way, Elder Rice, for me to celebrate myself is to examine myself. Because there's why? Okay, so somebody say, okay, well that didn't necessarily make sense. If I know the scripture says that I ought not think of myself more highly than I ought to. Is that what the scripture says? Yeah. So that's not pastor making that up. That's what the scripture says, dog, that I ought not think of myself more highly than I ought to. So I don't want to celebrate falsely. I'm going to go real slow through that. Go slow, Bishop. I don't want to celebrate falsely. Because if I'm not walking the talk, then ain't no need to be celebrating. So this is not even, I don't want to say this, but this is not the Toronto Raptors. Yeah. Where even if you didn't play, you're going to get a ring anyway. All right now. Somebody get that name. Go ahead, Bishop. Turn to somebody and tell them this ain't that type of game. No, so I want us to celebrate. Everybody say celebrate. I want us to celebrate, but I want us to celebrate justly. I want us to celebrate for the right reason. Yeah. So the Bible says, if we do it God's way, the Bible says that I ought not think of myself more highly than I ought to. In our text, it starts all Paul's instruction, and I know we're talking about the cup, and I know we're talking about supper, but I want to deal with the A portion, because the A portion said we got to do some examination. And we don't do enough self-examination. What we have perfected is looking at other people. And evaluating other people. And say, well, you ain't, and you didn't. But that's not, turn to somebody and say, that's not today. So men, let's examine ourselves and see where we're at. Look at Ephesians 5 and verse 25 through 29. Again, I'm gonna teach and talk right through it. Is that okay?
That's all right.
Teach and talk right through it. Look at Ephesians, and so this is not. So I want you to tune and turn everybody else out. This is now meant about you and God. And you have to ask yourself the question, you have to examine for yourself, am I doing what the scripture has commanded or expected me to do? Is that fair?
Yes.
Look at the scripture. It says, husbands, love your wives. So we can stop there if we wanted to. The question is, are you loving your wife?
My Lord.
Not are you controlling. Not do you have dominance over. Not is my way or the highway.
My Lord.
Not I want to be right even if I'm wrong. Somebody talk to me. The question is, are you loving your wife? And then he said, let me explain to you how you love your wife.
Okay.
He said, even as Christ also loved what? The church. And gave himself for it. So the question is, are we loving our wives the way Christ loved the church?
Good question.
How did Christ, let me start with this question, because I may go too fast. Let me slow down. Where is the church?
In us.
Talk to me. Where is the church?
In us. We're the church.
Do this. I'm the church. I'm the church. So think about how Christ had to love you. Think about what it took for God to really love you. I'm going to teach right through this. So this self-examination, this is not looking at anybody else. So ask yourself, what did it take for God to win me?
My Lord.
Well, let's examine it. In the scripture, in St. Paul, in Galatians 5, and I believe 22, he said that there's a fruit of the Spirit.
Yes.
And the first one is what? Love. But then if you go a little bit further, probably one of the fruit of the Spirit is long-suffering. Is there anybody who can identify with long-suffering, that God had to wait on you?
Yes.
That God had to be patient with you? That you didn't get it right the first time? So the question is, brothers, are we loving, Deacon LeGrand, are we loving our wives the way Christ has loved us? But now watch this, because here's where it can get tricky. We can look at our old man, and then we can get ready to celebrate and say, I'm not that old man. But the question is, even though you're not that old man, can you acknowledge that you still need work?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
All right.
Oh, yes.
See, I know I'm not that old man, Mother Audrey, but I still need work.
I know.
So I don't want to be too quick, because see, we can start thinking of ourselves more highly. Anybody remember when they went to the temple to pray?
Yes.
Remember when they went to pray? And then the one guy was praying, and he said, Lord, I'm glad I'm not like some people. It's in the script. It's in the book.
It's in there.
Is that right?
That's right.
It's in the book. It said that two of them went to the temple to pray together, and when they were praying, Michelle, one of them were praying, Lord, I'm glad I'm not like some people.
That's what he said, Bishop.
That's how he was praying. I'm glad I'm not like him. I'm not like somebody else. And so he said, love your wives even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. Watch it. That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word.
Amen.
Ask yourself the question when you get into an intense discussion. I thank you, love me for all that time.
Intense fellowship.
Intense fellowship. When you get into intense fellowship, husband, do you sanctify or do you cleanse her with the word? I wish
Go ahead, Bishop.
I wish you'd talk back to me. I need all the brothers to say intense fellowship.
Intense fellowship.
All the men say intense fellowship.
Intense fellowship.
So the question is, brothers, again, who you're examining the man in the mirror. So I'm not judging you. I don't know what you do. So you may check all the boxes and get a perfect 100. You say, John, you may get a perfect 100. I don't know. But I want us to do the work. The time has come down for us to do the work. I got to do the work and got to examine myself.
Amen.
I got to examine the man in the mirror. So the question is, Morris, let's look at it together. It said that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. When I get into intense fellowship, do I use the word? Or do I use other words?
Watch out, Bishop.
Is this making sense?
Yes, sir.
Is this making sense?
Yes.
Mother Lord, is this okay?
Go ahead, Bishop.
I'm just talking teach today.
And talk to me, Bishop. Lord.
Are you sanctifying and cleansing with the word, or are you using other words?
I know.
Watch it. That he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that it should be holy and without blemish. See, the good thing about God when he looks at us, even though we're imperfect, because of the blood, he still sees us perfect.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Lord.
Is this making sense?
Go ahead, Bishop.
So how do you know that? Because the scripture says, while we were yet, everybody, let's try it again. While we were yet sinners. Are you catching this? Even when I was a sinner, prophetess, he saw something that he desired. Even when I was out of his will, he was still attracted to me. Even when I was wrong, even when I was deep in sin, he still was drawn. Am I talking to anybody?
Go ahead, Bishop.
So the question is, even when they're wrong, will we still desire them?
Thank you, Lord.
All right, come on.
So are men to love their wives as their own bodies.
Yes.
Now, here's where some of the problem may be. Here's where some of the problem may be. Maybe the reason why I can't love her right is I don't love myself right.
Well,
Go ahead, Bishop.
Maybe that could be the problem.
Yes.
Maybe that could be. How am I treating myself? Am I destroying myself?
Go ahead, Bishop.
Am I my own demise?
yes.
And since I don't value myself, since my esteem, since my place is low, then I just treat everybody else that way.
Oh,
This makes sense?
go ahead, Bishop.
Turn to somebody and ask them, how good is your word?
How good is your word?
That's a follow-up sentence.
My.
It closes by saying, he that loveth his wife loveth himself.
Man.
See, the reason why I love my wife the way I do is because I love myself.
Say that, Bishop.
Turn to somebody and say, it's in the book.
It's in the book.
It's in the book. This is not, I'm not creating this, I'm reading what the book said. The reason why I love her is because I love myself. For no man ever, everybody say ever.
Ever.
Say ever.
Ever.
For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourished it and cherishes it, even as the Lord the church. Look at Ephesians 6 and 4. It's got a few more scriptures. Look at Ephesians 6 and 4. Thank you, Ricky. Look at Ephesians 6 and 4. Because it's not just our wives, because we're husbands to our wives, but today is Father's Day.
Amen.
I said we're husbands to our wives.
Yes.
but today is Father's Day.
Yes.
So let's do the examination. Ephesians 6:4 says this. It says, "And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord."
Amen.
Ask yourself, what investment did you make in your children?
Uh-oh.
Mm.
That's good.
What work did you do in your children? We look at where our children are sometimes, and we ask, how did this happen? What's going on? Why is this? And we have to be able to examine what work did I do. Now, things are going to happen.
Yes.
Things are going to happen. By the way, in case anybody doesn't know, I'm in the club. I am that sinner who was saved by grace.
Amen. Right.
DeRosa may love me, Clifford Lee raised me, but I want you to know I didn't make every decision right.
Right.
Anybody know that, Ralph?
Go ahead, Bishop.
Yep.
I was raised in the church, but it didn't exempt me from living a life of sin. And so we have to examine what work did we do. Because here's the good news. Because they did the work right, it brought me right back to where I needed to be.
That's good.
Let me say that again. Mother Harry, because DeRosa and Clifford did the work right, because Clifford did the work right. First of all, he was an example for me to follow.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And then secondly, he held me accountable anytime it didn't look like what he was teaching.
That part. Oh, yeah.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Watch this. Stay right there, Rick. But I want you all to write down Colossians 3:21. Write down Colossians 3:21. Which reinforces what we're talking about. It says, "Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged." Are you able to speak life into your children?
Amen.
Are you able to, John, are you able to speak life into your son? Morris, are you able to speak life to your children? When you speak to them, something shifts. You speak to them, something happens. You speak to them, they're drawn to the truth. Do we have that effect on our children? And if the answer is no, then we need to examine why is that not.
All right. All right.
And this is not about our children being afraid of us.
Right.
See, there's one thing for your children to be afraid of you. It's one thing for us to be afraid of God. He said, be not afraid, but we have to learn that we have to have the fear of God, which means we respect and reverence God. We shouldn't fear, Elder. We shouldn't fear our Heavenly Father. That's not the type of Father He is to us. But when the Bible uses the word fear, it uses in the context of saying you ought to reverence and respect your Father in heaven.
Yes.
Turn to somebody and ask them, do you have respect? Two more scriptures we done. Look at 1 Peter 3:7. 1 Peter 3:7. Look at these words. It says, likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to what? Knowledge. Let's do that again. It says, likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to what? Knowledge. According to knowledge. Not your own knowledge. It said, let this mind be in you, which is what? Which is also in Christ Jesus. Ronnie, we have to love them with the mind of Christ.
Yes.
Thank you, Lord.
My mind is judgmental. Christ's mind is forgiving and loving.
Thank you, Lord.
My mind will keep tally strokes. The mind of Christ said you can throw it in the sea of forgetfulness, never to see. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Is this making sense?
Yes.
So look at it. It says, likewise, ye husband, dwell with them according to knowledge. Watch this. Giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers may not be hindered. Watch this. So it says, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. So it doesn't matter what weaknesses she has. It doesn't matter what flaws she has, because we all have them. Do your hand like this. We all have them.
We all have them.
But we have, Dalton, the responsibility as the priest. And as the priest, I have a responsibility to speak life in spite of seeing the dead spot.
Well,
because that's what God does to us. Does that make sense?
Amen.
Even though he sees a weak spot, a dead spot, probably he still calls life.
Yes.
So what do we have to do? What we have to do, Marvell, in relationships and marriages, we have to be able to call forth life even though we see a dead spot. Why? Because the power of life and death is what? In the tongue. So if I speak life, even though I see a dead spot, God can take that which is dead, make it sleep, and then wake it up.
Right.
Somebody can get that.
well,
The Bible said Christ said Lazarus is sleeping. Even though the word that came to him was him that loveth, you love it, is dead. Lazarus is dead, but he said he's sleeping. Now he said, greater things than this shall you do in my name. What are you saying? I'm saying this, John. I'm saying, even though I see a dead spot, I can't see it with my natural eyes. I have to see it the way God sees it. I have to see it the way Christ sees it. And therefore, I have the authority to speak to what others might say is dead, and I treat it as though it's just sleeping, and I call for its life, and it wakes up. I would encourage anybody, and God knows what he's doing, and he does what he does intentionally. But I'd encourage anybody, if you have not sat under the teaching of Miles Monroe, get someplace.
Yes.
Miles Monroe was one of the greatest teachers as it relates to the ministry of marriage.
Yeah.
To teach men how to be priests of their ministry, to operate in their ministry, to operate in their call, to teach women how to operate in their assignment and their election to be wives and to be mothers. Miles Monroe was an amazing gift to the kingdom, and God took him when it was his time, but he left something behind. See, the reason why, and we were talking about this in our men's ministry, Elder, and we came to this conclusion, that my father, that our fathers, that many fathers taught what they knew. But it doesn't always mean that what they taught was right. Let me say that again. My father taught me what he knew, but it didn't always mean that what he taught was right.
Come on, Bishop.
And so it's no disrespect to my father, because my father taught me what he knew. But at some point said, when you find the light, walk in the light. Am I talking to anybody? And it doesn't say that my father's a bad man. It doesn't say he wasn't being a father. He taught me what he knew. Because he made it. And if I can be 1/3 of the man that Clifford was, then I did good.
Amen.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Let's close. Last scripture. St. John's 5, verses 19 through 23. Is our closing text. Thank you all so much for being with Jesus. St. John's 5, starting at verse number 19. When you have it, let me say amen. St. John's 5 and 19. Look with me. Then answered Jesus and said unto them, verily, verily, or truly, truly, I say unto you, the Son can do nothing of himself. If you want to know why I act the way I do, just check my dad. And you'll see why I do what I do. I had a biological father, Clifford Lee White. I had a father in the ministry. I was blessed. I was blessed to be reared and raised under 3 spiritual fathers who were all bishops within the Church of the Living God.
Well,
I had no desire even to be a minister, let alone a bishop in this organization. But I was reared by 3 men who all ascended with God's direction to the office of bishop within Church of the Living God. The man who baptized me at 9 years old ultimately ended up being Bishop Luke Nichols, who used to say, preach the hell out of people. And I used to, you know, as a boy, are you hearing me?
go ahead, Bishop.
And then Robert D. Tyler, who transitioned not just to the office of bishop, but our chief bishop of our organization. Pittsburgh Slam was what they used to call him. But he helped us understand that God can save even a parent.
Right.
Are you hearing me?
Right.
A hoodlum, a gangster.
My Lord.
And then the man who God birthed my preaching ministry under. And it was amazing because when I take a look at who Bishop Ruffin was, I learned the whole Bishop Ruffin after he had transitioned away. And then I understood prophetess, I understood what the prophet Isaiah said. He said, in the year that King Uzziah died, he said, then I saw the Lord. Y'all not hearing me today.
Yes.
And I'm not ashamed to tell it. Because sometimes when you love somebody so much, sometimes you can start seeing the world through their eyes.
Right. Yeah.
See, that's what real love would do. That's why, Johnny, God is trying to help us to really be in love with him. He said, because when you really fall in love with me, then you can see everything through my eyes.
Yeah.
But Lord, I love this man so much, but I was seeing the world through his eyes. But it wasn't until the year that King Uzziah died. Then I saw the Lord
Yes.
high and lifted up.
Hallelujah. Yep.
Then his train was able to fill the temple. It was then that he was able to really touch me. And it was then, Michelle, that the change happened. And I was able to say, here I am. Send me, I'll go. Look at the scripture. He said, the Son can do nothing of himself, but what he seeth the Father do. For what things soever he doth, these also doth the Son likewise. For the Father what? Talk to me. The Father what? The Father loveth the Son, and showeth him all things that himself does. So the Father teaches, or my Father taught me what he did. Right? He taught me what he did. Many of the things that I do, I don't do because I went to school. I didn't do because I got a formal education probably. I do them because of what I was taught.
That's taught. Amen.
Right.
Yeah.
So I learned how to work on a car, not because I went to all mechanic school. It was because when I was a little boy, when I was just a small boy, my father would let me hand him a screwdriver. Or my father would let me hand him a wrench. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Or I didn't go to school for carpentry. I remember being up on the roof of this building, me and Brother Daniels, doing hammering and putting down plywood and putting in 2x4. Remember that, John? I don't know nothing about carpentry. But Bishop Ruffin did. And he built the church from the ground up.
Yeah.
And then God sent me here with a man who built half of Fort Lewis.
Yeah. Hallelujah.
Y'all understand that?
Go ahead, Bishop.
See, when God gives you an assignment, he will put you around those who will help you to complete your assignment. And so in that season, watch it, in that season, And he taught me how to do what to do.
Yes.
And so that's why I ain't worried about it. I don't sweat it.
Amen.
If you show up, great.
All right.
Yes.
If you don't show up, you will see it when you get here.
Go ahead.
Understand that?
Yes.
That's good
Yes.
teaching.
Because I've been taught right.
Yeah. All right now.
Let's go.
Come on, Bishop.
It says, for as the Father raises up the dead and quicken them, even so the Son quickeneth whom he will. I told you, you have power to raise the dead.
Yes.
If you speak life to what looks dead, watch it come alive.
Well, come on.
For the Father judges no man. Remember somebody say, I ain't got time to judge. The Father judges no man, but hath committed all judgment unto the Son, that all men should honor what? The Son, even as they honor the Father. You can't honor the Son without honoring the Father.
Amen.
And you can't honor the Father without honoring the Son. That all men should honor the Father, even as they honor the Father. He that honoreth not the Son, honoreth not the Father, which sent him. We got to take a close examination.
Amen.
Let's go home, kid.
Thank you, Lord.
We got to take examination of the man in the mirror.
Amen.
Fatherhood is not the fact that I have children. Stop lying to yourself. Fatherhood is not because I have children.
Amen.
Fatherhood is not me being male versus female. Fatherhood has to do with, am I living the life according to the life that was led before me? In the book of St. John's, and I'm done, stay there, Rick. In the book of St. John's, Christ began to wash the disciples' feet. And he said, I've given you an example. He said, wherefore I've washed your feet. You ought to wash one another's feet. We're not working today to walk into the gates and somebody be standing at the gates, prophetess, and say, welcome, prophetess. They're not gonna be standing there and say, welcome, bishop. They're not gonna come and say, welcome, deacon. They're not gonna come and say, welcome, mother. They will say, well done.
Yeah, right.
That good and faithful servant.
Well,
When we learn that the greatest assignment that we've been given is to serve others, as soon as the enemy is able to transform our heart from having a servant's heart to be a self-serving heart, we've disconnected ourselves from God. We've disconnected. Not only have we disconnected from our Father, but we dishonor our Father.
well, yeah.
John said it this way, for God so loved the world
Amen.
that he gave
Yes.
Thank you.
his only begotten Son.
Uh-huh.
When did he give it to us? He said, while we were yet sinners. It's not about loving each other because we deserve it. This is about loving each other the most when we don't deserve it.
Yes.
The time that I want to love you the hardest is when you don't deserve it.
Yes. Yes.
Because that's what God did for me. That's what my Father did for me.
Yes.
Everybody stand to your feet.
Thank